Hello and welcome back to another episode. For those of you who are new around here, my name is Ruth and I started this podcast to amplify the voices of women in leadership. This first episode of our mini-sode, Viewer's Choice, is a little bit of a different one. I put it out on Instagram, a poll to see what people wanted. Did they want guest episodes, viewer's choice, a mix? And I think it was 90% said that they wanted a mixture. So I'm starting this mini-sode viewer's choice episode series now. This is the first one, so I'm excited to see how it goes. I did also put a poll on Instagram to find out the topics that you wanted me to focus on, and I've got my notes down here, I was actually blown away. I've got 13 different topics from different people on things that they wanted me to cover off. So without further ado, as you would have guessed from the title, this one is about engaging in conversations you shouldn't in the workplace. So somebody was interested in my take on how I engage in conversations in the workplace, especially those that you shouldn't. So I've assumed that this comment is more around maybe gossip. And I think it's a hard one because human nature, as humans, we want to connect with other people. We connect with other people through shared topics, shared subjects, shared interests. And it's kind of like a bonding experience, isn't it? So I think gossip or chatter within the workforce, or as Brown would call it, not being a vault, I think it can be difficult. But I listened to a couple of podcasts and books, and there was a comment that really stood out for me, and I think it really stood out for me because it aligns with my personal values. It said something along the lines of always small talk, like there's a small microphone tucked under your tongue, and I just thought that was so powerful and explained it so well. Don't say anything about a situation or about a person or about an individual that you wouldn't be happy to have broadcast through this small microphone you've got under your tongue. So I think that's probably always stayed with me, and it aligned and stood out for me a lot because it aligns with one of my personal values. One of my personal values is around kindness and is about being kind. So my advice would be, don't engage in those type of conversations within the workplace. Always think about how you would feel if you were on the receiving end of that, and also how productive is this conversation? What are you getting out of this conversation? What's the other person getting out of this conversation? And if it's negative and it's not positive, then just disengage. Like, there are times where you might share a bit of information, or you may engage too much in a conversation that on reflection you probably shouldn't. Don't beat yourself up about it, and use it as a learning opportunity as well. Use it as an opportunity to say, actually, moving forward, I'm not going to engage in conversations like this because it doesn't serve any purpose. Also, one of the things I find quite helpful is silence is golden sometimes. So sometimes if there are situations within the workplace that come up or are brought to you intentionally, sometimes your silence speaks volumes, and you don't have to have that difficult conversation with somebody that's like, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to get involved in gossip or whatever. Some people are fine with saying that, and some people shy away from that, and that's fine. But sometimes goldens and a little, I call it my half smile, I think it tells people what they need to know, and the conversation will quickly move on. Another one that I've used is I've got another meeting I've got to go to. I'm so sorry to cut this conversation short. I've got somewhere I've got a bit. Just go. And it depends on the relationship you also have with people. I've worked in environments where I felt super comfortable saying to the person, this just feels yucky. That's the technical term, according to me. This feels yucky. And just saying to people, this doesn't feel nice. Actually, I don't want to engage in that. And I've had that relationship with the person that I feel comfortable to say that. So it just depends. I think always be authentic in dealing with these situations, and have these little one-liners up your pocket that if you feel super uncomfortable, you've got these strategies in your toolkit that you can just you can just utilize when you need to utilize them, and you can just kind of keep it pushing. Also think about your own personal values and always make decisions that align with your personal values, because then I think you just can't go wrong. So hopefully that's kind of answered your question and gives you kind of the advice or some tips and some tricks on things that you can do to just not engage in specific conversations within the workplace. And I think the fact that the person worded it as conversations you shouldn't engage with knows that it's not nice and they probably shouldn't be engaging in it, which I think is the first step. Sometimes people engage in conversations and they don't realise that it's inappropriate until after the fact. So the fact that you're aware of it and you're seeking some advice, I think, is always a good sign. So hopefully that answers your question, and I'll see you next time on Viewer's Choice.